On this edition of Good Day DePaul, a DePaul law professor plays a major role in a Mid-East hotspot.
Chicago's mayor is proposing speed cameras throughout the city.
And a look at the problem of sexual assault on campus and off. I'm Ashley Barnes.
And I'm Monica Macellari, and this is Good Day DePaul.
A DePaul University law professor says rulers in Bahrain may not be moving fast enough to head off more protests. Sharif Bassiuni led a commission investigating what happened in Bahrain during the Arab Spring uprising last March. The commission concluded the government used excessive force and torture to put down the protest. Now, Bassiuni says the king may be finding it politically impossible to implement changes that many feel need to be made. Sally Fitz has the story.
You have to choose between maintaining the unity of the family or the regime or the unity of the country.
Sharif Bassiuni is an internationally recognized human rights expert. His office walls document his career. He's chaired 5 international commissions investigating alleged human rights violations, including the Bahrain Commission.
There have to be major economic reforms and political reforms and major constitutional reforms.
The King of Bahrain asked Bassiuni to chair an independent inquiry into alleged government abuses against last year's Arab Spring protesters. 2 months ago, Bassiuni presented the king with the commission's 500-page report. The report detailed what was called disproportionate and indiscriminate force used by security forces to put down protesters, and it documented 46 deaths and 64 cases of torture. Since the release of the report, the government has been doing its own investigation into responsibility for documented abuses, and Bassiuni is concerned about transparency.
I think the public is going to come out in the end and saying, you know what, you're holding all of these investigations behind closed doors. This is a whitewash. And I think they would be perfectly justified in saying so.
This is a copy of Professor Bassiuni's resume, or curriculum vitae. It is 90 pages long. He speaks 6 languages fluently. Bassiuni grew up in a distinguished Egyptian family that includes an ambassador to India and the first president of the Egyptian Senate. He says he spent his whole life working for justice. He's been at DePaul for 47 years. He says the United States has been pursuing quiet, behind-the-scenes diplomacy in Bahrain, and he would like to see it do more.
I think there is merit in naming and shaming, in embarrassing, in pushing, in enlisting public opinion, domestic and international. This is not the style of Secretary Clinton or President Obama. And I'm not sure they're necessarily doing the right choice.
Even though Bassiuni's role with the Bahrain Commission has officially ended, he remains involved. He won't say publicly what his current role is, but says he's trying to speed up the pace of reform and the cause of desegregation and human rights in Bahrain and the region. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Sally Fitz.
After Sally filed that story, the King of Bahrain announced he'll give the elected parliament more power, but opponents claimed even greater reform are needed.
After coming back from winter break, you may have noticed a change at DePaul. The new Arts and Letters building has opened in the heart of the Lincoln Park campus. University President, Father Dennis Holschneider, recently hosted the ribbon-cutting ceremony where they held the traditional blessing of the door. The new 4-story building brings 47 state-of-the-art classrooms and a PC lab for math and science specialties. 2 academic departments in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences have been relocated from McGraw Hall to the new building.
It's been over 2 months since the Illinois General Assembly passed a bill allowing Chicago to install red light cameras to record and issue tickets for speeding. But so far, Governor Pat Quinn has yet to sign the measure. Quinn says he's been working on so many other things that he'll eventually get to the bill. Tiffany Bonkin has more.
Mayor Emanuel's proposal calls for speed cameras to be installed near Chicago schools and parks. The New York Times reported that Emanuel contacted state legislators personally to explain that these speed cameras would create safety zones in areas frequented by children, as well as areas with high pedestrian traffic. Tickets for speeding in these areas, or in other areas where speed cameras may be set up, could cost up to $100. Transportation and Urban Development Authority Professor Joseph Schwieterman said these tickets could be issued by the thousands if installed. All of that money would go straight to the city.
I don't think there's any question that revenue is a big part of the picture. And of course, helping kids become safer is maybe an impetus for this, but the ramifications are so sweeping, and it's such a crude instrument to solve a very specific problem he's referring to, that it just isn't plausible that there's not a sort of a financial driven motive here.
Schwieterman also answered a more pressing question. Will these speed cameras actually make city streets safer?
When you raise the penalty of speeding, and speeding cameras do that, people change their behavior, and I think the evidence shows they become safer. But there's all these other issues, intrusion in our lives, unfairness, the gotcha factor, that makes these a real public policy debate that needs more attention.
But DePaul grad student Paige Largent thinks the cameras will definitely work well here.
I think it is a way to get people to slow down. I mean, I don't see a problem with, if you're going to speed, ultimately being punished for it, and the city really needs money.
Although installing speed cameras in the city of Chicago may help drivers be a little bit safer, some of the responsibility lies with pedestrians as well. Chicago recently launched a pedestrian safety initiative that encourages people to be a little bit more aware when they're crossing city streets.
I think pedestrians and drivers both need to be more cognizant of their actions.
When he introduced the idea for speed cameras, the mayor stressed safety for both pedestrians and drivers. But there is no question that employing these devices will make money for a city that desperately needs it.
And I know that there's a cost to put the cameras in, but I think that the cost of putting the cameras in will be offset by the revenue that the city gets. So why not?
Why not? Because many feel it's another government intrusion into their lives. But others feel it's a small price to pay for greater safety. Reporting from The Loop, I'm Tiffany Bonkin for Good Day DePaul.
If Governor Quinn signs off, speed camera tickets could be issued as early as next July.
DePaul's Board of Trustees announced last month that Patricia O'Donohue will serve for the year as interim provost at the university, beginning in July. O'Donohue will be stepping aside from her current position as Vice President for Alumni Outreach and Engagement. She will succeed Helmut Ed, who is resigning at the end of the academic year.
Joe Moreno, a DePaul alum and alderman of Chicago's 1st Ward, is confronting the issue of sexual violence. This comes after a young woman was brutally raped near the Congress Theater on New Year's Eve. In the meantime, DePaul's administration is continuing to address concerns about sexual assault, aiming to increase awareness and make students safer. Eva Green has details.
A large crowd recently gathered outside the Congress Theater in Chicago, just as DePaul students began their second week of the winter quarter. But on this cold night, there wasn't a line to get into the popular music venue. It was an opportunity to speak out against rape and sexual assault.
This girl should have been able to go and have fun on New Year's Eve without getting raped.
The Congress Theater, located in DePaul's neighboring community, Logan Square, draws hundreds of young people from all over the city and surrounding suburbs to its shows. On New Year's Eve, an 18-year-old Highland Park girl was turned away from a concert there for not having an ID. Shortly after, she was seen walking away from the area with a group of males who later returned, but without the girl.
And the woman was sexually assaulted by 6 people that don't live in our community, that aren't from around here, but that preyed upon a young woman, and it's a disgusting, disgusting act.
I want to make sure that everyone here understands that the idea that the city is the place where sexual assault happens is a myth. Sexual assault happens everywhere.
Although sexual assaults nationwide have fallen by nearly 60% in the past decade, someone is still sexually assaulted in the U.S. about every 2 minutes.
This just happened to get media attention. We need to be here to prevent the next rape. It could have been me, it could have been her, it could have been her.
For some local residents who attended the rally, there are certain precautions everyone should follow.
Don't leave alone. Leave with your friends and stay with your friends.
Unfortunately, as on New Year's Eve, being in the safe company of others is not always an option.
Sometimes when it's a night class or something, it's a little more difficult if I'm alone on the L or...
A DePaul public safety report says that in 2010, there were 10 reported incidents of forcible sexual assault on or around DePaul campuses.
It's a number that is very meaningful, but it's also meaningful in asking the questions of who are the students we didn't hear from.
According to the Department of Justice, 60% of sexual assaults are never reported to police. And a recent Chicago Tribune article says those suspected of campus sexual assault are rarely prosecuted in Cook County. DePaul is committed to bringing even more resources to its students to prevent these crimes.
The bystander intervention campaign is to train them to have the skills and also knowledgeable of the resources to say something when they see something wrong going on.
The Department of Justice is also bringing more to the conversation. Recently, it announced it now recognizes men in its official definition of rape victims. DePaul is eager to offer services to men who are only now being recognized as victims of many forms of violence.
We'll be offering a men's-only self-defense program that I'm really excited about, and we're looking at just continuing to expand those offerings.
Counseling and advocacy services are offered by the university to both male and female victims. The school has safety cameras, emergency call buttons, and offers safety escorting in some areas. But all the security in the world can't protect anyone from one harsh fact.
The majority of sexual assaults occur from people that we know.
For some students, looking out for one another is key.
If you have a female friend who's walking back to her dorm at night, like obviously go with her just to make sure she gets there okay. I mean, I do that all the time and I never regret it.
Whether on DePaul's campus or elsewhere in the city of Chicago, one thing is apparent. Men are increasingly joining the fight, claiming sexual assault is a men's issue too.
Evil thing to that woman. This is our problem. This is something that our brothers, our sons, our fathers are doing, and it's important for us to start that conversation. Sexual assault does not exist in a vacuum.
In a culture where violence is too common, the issues are complex, and these acts of sexual violence are just a symbol of a much bigger picture.
For someone to not have the respect for life, I think that's what we've lost. That they don't have respect for another person's body and another person's self-awareness.
I want more dialogue. I want more information out there to students because that's the way that you change the culture of sexual violence.
For Good Day DePaul, I'm Eva Green.
Now another safety issue on college campuses, school shootings. An Illinois law created after the tragic shooting at Northern Illinois University is under scrutiny. Courtney Sturgeon has more on the law and how it applies to DePaul.
It's been almost 4 years since a gunman at Northern Illinois University went on a shooting rampage on campus, killing 5 people and injuring 15 others. The gunman then took his own life.
It's just scary to think that those things happen and people are out there, but at the same time it's a reality and that's the world we live in, so you just have to be safe and always be ready to deal with any situation like that.
An unfortunate reality that prompted the 2008 Campus Security Enhancement Act to be signed into law. Illinois became the first state to require all colleges and universities to plan for and practice their responses to emergencies of all kinds. But in recent months, the act has been drawing criticism from those who feel there are insufficient resources to enforce the law, particularly in the Chicago area, where, according to the New York Times, few of its 63 higher education institutions have filed their required reports. Edward Gregory is the director of the Business Continuity Planning Office of Risk Management at DePaul.
Every exercise I do, I have a spreadsheet of all the exercises we've done over the last 4 or 5 years. They have that information readily available for the state if they come in and ask us for the information. Right now, it's not something that they're going to come in. There's too many universities out there in the state for them to actually try to reach out to every single one. But we try to make sure we have all the information needed if they do ask us.
There are 189 colleges and universities in Illinois. Several are frustrated with what they feel is the limited guidance they've received from the state.
They just created, not too long ago, put somebody in charge of the overall process, and I know that they're working on more detailed planning and trying to get more people involved in doing things on the state side, and that should also help, facilitate some of the stuff that they're trying to get together for all these college universities.
The state's new requirements are nothing new for DePaul. Plans for an emergency situation on campus have been in place for more than 10 years. More than 25,000 students are enrolled at DePaul, and 5,000 faculty and staff work at both the Lincoln Park and Loop campuses. In the case of a shooter on either campus, the university community would be notified immediately. Robert Wachowski is the director of DePaul's public safety.
Over the past several years, DePaul has spent a lot of money on proactive things to make sure that our students stay safe and to keep in compliance with the act. Like, one of the best things that we've done is we have DPU Alert, which is the text messaging and voicemail system that's been in place that we can launch, that the students register for, and if there's a major emergency on campus, we can broadcast it to them via that.
When students first enroll at DePaul, they're asked to provide their emergency contact information through Campus Connect. Test alerts are sent out every quarter to prepare students in case of a real emergency.
DePaul has a great text alert system, so I would find out through my phone that there's a shooter on campus, and I feel I would know what to do based on where the shooter is and what the text message has to say.
I definitely think that it would probably be good to just have a little bit more contact with public safety, just to know if there's any other types of threats out. I think it's good that they're sending out emails preemptively to let people know if there's any types of threats, but maybe just increasing the security would be good.
I think the most important thing is for the individual, to take some responsibility to plan and be prepared. If you're prepared and you have your own self-plan and you know the exits to the building and you know the layout of the buildings a little bit, you'll be more apt to survive and help others out in a situation.
Security Enhancement Act or not, DePaul officials are continuously working on emergency plans, even though they're hoping they'll never have to use them. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Courtney Sturgeon.
To learn more about what to do in an emergency situation, visit DePaul's website and click on the public safety page to watch instructional videos.
If you've passed the State Street entrance to the 14 East Jackson building on your way to the downtown campus, you may have noticed a picture of a very familiar woman in the window, surrounded by flowers. She is former Chicago First Lady Maggie C. Daley, who died of cancer in late November at the age of 68. The picture is DePaul's memorial to Miss Daley's life. Just over a year ago, the school named the 14 East Jackson building the Richard M. Daley and Maggie C. Daley Building to honor the former mayor, who attended DePaul's College of Law, and Miss Daley for her contributions to the university and Chicago.
After the break, Shannon Lane will join us for an update on Blue Demon sports.
Then stick around as we show you how the CTA is now easier to track.
And a look at the first major snowfall of the season. Shannon Lane is now with us for sports. So Shannon, after winter break, tell us what's happening in sports.
Well, a lot of preseason games were being played while we were all away at home, and a lot of action has been going on in Big East Conference play now. But while most of us were out of the city at home for the holidays, the DePaul basketball teams were busy at work preparing for Big East play. The men's team ended preseason play with a 10-3 record, an improvement from last year's 7-7 preseason mark. The Blue Demons kicked off Big East Conference play on New Year's Day, hosting #1 ranked Syracuse at Allstate Arena. The Blue Demons fell to the Orange 87-68, snapping the Demons' 5-game winning streak. Welcome to Big East play. After the game, Syracuse head coach Jim Boeheim acknowledged the improvement of this year's Blue Demons squad, saying, "I think they're a much better team and Melvin is a terrific player." And DePaul head coach Oliver Purnell said, "We'll regroup and go after it the next game." That's exactly what his team did, and in doing so defeated Pittsburgh 84-81 with a game-winning three-point play by sophomore guard Brandon Young in the final seconds of the game. Students rejoice and storm the court at the final buzzer. Scoring the last 7 points of the game for the Blue Demons, Young finished with 26 points, 6 assists, and 5 steals. Young ended the week on another high note when he was named to the Big East Weekly Honor Roll for the first time after averaging 24 points and 6 assists in that week's games versus Pittsburgh and Villanova. The men went on to lose to both Villanova and Seton Hall, as well as Louisville. The women's basketball team suffered a major setback, Standout Keisha Hampton will miss the remainder of the season after undergoing surgery on her right knee. Hampton is just one of 4 players on this year's teams to go out due to injury. She joins last year's Big East Sixth Man of the Year Taylor Pikes and freshman Alexa Gallagher and Shanice Jenkins. Women's head coach Doug Bruno remains positive and says the silver lining to losing 4 key players at one time is that the remaining healthy players have stepped up in this adversity. I have been very impressed with the resolve that our 9 healthy players have shown during this season. The DePaul women's team has not only excelled on the court, but also in the classroom. Good Day DePaul's Lucy Sadler has that story.
The DePaul women's basketball team takes the role of student athletes seriously. Performance off the court is considered just as important as on the court. The Women's Basketball Coaches Association voted the Lady Blue Demons 3rd in the academic top 25 team honor roll last season.
For Coach Bruno, reaching #1 on this poll is not the most important thing. All he wants out of his athletes is to be the best they can be academically and in their future lives.
Lucy, I really focus though that our players are doing their best. It's more that they're all working to their potential, that they're not gonna settle for a B plus if they can get an A, or a C plus if they can get a B. That they really work to compete to be the best they can be. And just like the game of basketball, if you're competing to be the best you can be, then the numbers are going to take care of themselves. And if that means we're #1, great. If it means we're #3, great. And if it means we're number 23 or 24, great. As long as our players are working to get the most that they can get out of this great DePaul education.
An academic advisor supports each DePaul athlete. They help the players with career development and life skill programs.
My role is as a support person to help them succeed academically. So while Coach Bruno is going to push them and demand from them on the court, I hope to do the same thing in the classroom.
Senior guard Deanna Ortiz says the future is what motivates her to do well in school.
For me, I actually would like to go to law school next year, so that's the plan. I want to do corporate law, so I figured a business background undergrad would help me. But yeah, basketball can only go so far for me, so I'm going to kind of work on my career after this.
Ortiz and her teammates use academic advising supervised study time to complete 6 to 8 hours of mandatory study a week, as well as the studying they do on their own. It's that kind of commitment that led to a team GPA of 3.582. And for Coach Bruno and the players, that was just as satisfying as their great season last year. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Lucy Sattler.
It's always nice to see how our student athletes are performing not only on the court but also in the classroom.
That was a great story, Shannon. Thank you. Well, the CTA is offering some new help for its riders, including many DePaul students. Commuters will now be able to get text messages telling them when trains will arrive. This comes about a year after the CTA began providing a smartphone app that included much of the same information. Gianna Ergo reports on how the program has impacted DePaul students.
Doors closing.
Many DePaul students have downloaded an application on their smartphones that shows estimated arrival times for CTA buses and trains.
There were just so many times where I would just miss a train by a few seconds. Using this app, I would know exactly when I'd have to be on the platform.
The application also gives weather alert and service alert information in case of delays or emergencies.
I think the CTA tracker is important for DePaul students to use because it just helps with punctuality and keeping your day together.
DePaul students use the L train to travel from Lincoln Park to the Loop campus on a daily basis. Now, this train tracker app will help eliminate wasted time for busy student schedules.
So I use this app to let me know if I have enough time to stop for a coffee or to print something out at the Student Center.
Not only does the CTA tracker save time, but it can also protect students from Chicago's freezing winter temperatures.
I mostly use the CTA tracker just to have a better idea of how long I'm going to be waiting outside, especially if it's like really cold out.
If the train is leaving right on time, then I know I have to rush so I can get to class on time.
Some of the apps come at a price, but most are free to download. Ride the L is a free app for the iPhone. There are also options to use a trip planner, an L map, plus arrival times for nearby stations and advisories.
The CTA tracker I use has actually been pretty accurate, and I I know they also have one that's for the Metro as well, and it's also been pretty accurate.
For a complete list of CTA tracker applications for your phone, log on to transitchicago.com/apps and see which one is best for your personal commute. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Gianna Ergo.
This holiday season, DePaul received its largest single gift in the school's 113-year history. An alumnus and his wife donated $10 million to the university. The gift will help support student scholarships and a professorship in the College of Commerce. The donors, a retired graduate of the college, and his wife wish to remain anonymous.
Bright lights, colorful ornaments, and presents are the things people live for during the holidays. Although we're in the new year, reporter Amber Tweedy takes a look back at special holiday tradition in Chicago.
As always, the holiday season in Chicago was special, and DePaul was right in the middle of the festivities. Decorated with lights and garland, the Loop campus on State and Jackson is blocks away from a Chicago holiday tradition. Trumpets laced with red stars and decorative windows signal the beginning of the holiday season. The State Street windows at Macy's are a special tradition that Chicagoans look forward to every year.
Macy's is Christmas around here. I mean, it's not Christmas until the windows are up.
Last year's theme coincided with Macy's Make-A-Wish campaign. The windows tell the story of how celebrity ornaments were created for Macy's Christmas tree. Spectator Brendan Mulrin lives in London and was viewing the windows for the first time.
They don't do windows as nice as Chicago does. There's no big theme, and they don't decorate like this.
The windows tradition dates back to 1897, when the now Macy's store was Marshall Field's. Christmas toys were displayed in the windows, but since World War II, theme windows spanned State Street. Despite the name change, the tradition at the Marshall Field's building continues today. One native Chicagoan watches the window every year, but was disappointed by this year's display.
It's very commercial. Usually it just tells a Christmas story. There might be a little bit of product placement or something, but it's all about the Christmas story. This is all about the product placement.
While the mention of Macy's fashion designers like Rachel Roy and Donald Trump bothers some onlookers, the windows still provide nostalgia for traditionalists.
It's something that we've always did when I was younger, growing up. We'd always come down here, even when it was the old Marshall Fields, and look at the windows. And it's kind of interesting to see how they've gotten more ornate and kind of crazier over the years and have changed. So yeah, it's always been fun thing. Kind of takes me back to being young and going down here with the family.
The State Street decorations at Macy's allow Chicagoans to reminisce about their childhood. And for a new generation, they're also a special part of the holiday season. In the Loop, I'm Amber Tweedy for Good Day DePaul.
On January 13th, DePaul faculty and staff members who received their payroll through direct deposit were paid not once but twice. But don't get too excited. The error has been corrected and the extra funds were removed from employees' bank accounts. If the funds could not be recovered, payroll contacted individual employees to make alternative arrangements.
Well, it finally happened. After a mild December and early January with very little snow, we got smacked with the first major snowstorm of the year on January 12th. Our own Whitney L.B. Miller reports on how the storm impacted the DePaul community.
DePaul students finally got the snow they were expecting. The Lincoln Park campus came alive as a mini blizzard swept across the university.
It hasn't been cold, and now that it's actually starting to get cold and that the snow is coming, we have a rude awakening.
And that was the general consensus. I had the hardest time getting people just to stop and talk about the weather. Talk to us about all of you.
Getting people to talk to us about the snow is not an easy task. I think it's too cold. Y'all want to talk to us about the snow?
But not everyone was opposed. A couple of girls gave me some pointers on the best snow architecture techniques.
Oh, they build it around you.
No, like I build it up and pack it all in.
Pile,
a huge pile, and then you scrape it all out.
See, this is what happens when you grow up in Texas. You don't know how to do things like build an igloo. Some students thought they were getting away with a mild winter, but after today's mini blizzard, they can think again. And if you wanted a winter wonderland, well, you got it.
No, I'm happy. I like the snow.
It's crazy. I wish it snowed on Christmas, though. Come on, gotta have a white Christmas.
And it's freezing out. That's the only downfall. I'm so cold.
Yeah,
but you're happy that it's here.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
I mean, it'll be nice for today, and then I'll be sick of it tomorrow. So.
Forecasters are predicting even more snowfall, but DePaul will be ready for it. They have snowplows and salt trucks on standby to keep the campus area safe for students. So just remember when you're heading out to bundle up because it is cold. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Whitney L.B. Miller.
Last fall, Chicago was recognized on America's favorite quiz show, Jeopardy! An entire category was devoted to trivia questions about the city. See if you can answer this one.
This Blue Demon School in Chicago is the USA's largest Roman Catholic university. John.
What is DePaul?
DePaul, yes.
Would you have gotten that right?
I think I might have answered correctly.
Yeah, I think Blue Demon gave it away.
Yeah. Well, that's all for our first show of 2012. This year we've got new equipment and a new look to go with it. As always, keep watching at GoodDayDePaul.com and leave suggestions on our Facebook page. I'm Monica Macellari.
And I'm Ashley Barnes. Have a good day, DePaul.